Hi, Patrick here, 8 Questions With, and welcome to Friday. That's right, we're here on a Friday. Um, so, uh, and now it's telling me my destinations have errors. Well, of course it does. All right, so welcome to the show. We're here on a Friday, and we're interviewing our guest who will be here. Will be Bryn Pryor, and yeah, this is going to be unlike any show that you've seen here before tonight. If you're watching it live, or if you're watching it live, or you're going to watch it in replay. Uh, hey, Reed, what's going on? Oh, you must be back from vacation. Oh yeah. Well, welcome back. Um, So yeah, we are talking to Bryn Pryor today. This is going to be a first for me. I've known Bryn for years. That's the funny thing. We well, welcome back. It's been very fun. That's for sure. It's been a fun ride. But glad you are back. Um, and glad you're back for this interview for sure. So Bryn Pryor is a man of. He's a Renaissance man. He can do just about anything on a film set, and he is a Hall of Fame director. Um, and he has a good eye for spotting talent, and we'll be talking about that. I got to know Bryn because he rescues some cats, and I got to know him and his cat crew. Um, it's gonna be interesting talking about about that. I know it doesn't sound like a whole lot right now, but that's because I'm waiting for Bryn to get here, and then we're gonna see what we're gonna talk about. Um, if you want to know a little bit more about Bryn, you can look him up by his. He directs underneath the name Eli Cross. He's won many awards for his films. Um, and yeah, he's a definitely a talented filmmaker, no doubt about that. I've watched three of his films. I watched Cowboys and Engines, which is excellent. That was a short film, science fiction film that starred Walter Koenig, Malcolm McDowell, and the late Richard Hatch. That was great. That was. Um, I wish that could have been made into a feature. I know that he's probably still has that in his back of his mind is getting that done. Um, of course, the cast might have to be a little bit younger for that, but the movie itself is excellent. It gives you an idea of just how skilled Bryn really is. He also has made two films, and I guess to literally let the cat out of the bag. He made two films, one called Upload, one called Corruption, that were made for the adult film market, but those films were excellent. Uh, very well written, very well acted. Um, in fact, it's one of those movies where yes, there was sex scenes in the movie, but it is sort of distracted from it. It's like you want to go there and say, okay, I know this is made for the market, but holy crow, I wish you wouldn't have, because it was exciting and action packed and very well done. And Brendan won a lot of awards for those two films. So we'll be talking about that as well. Yeah, like I said, we're gonna be it's gonna be an entertaining show tonight. But let me catch up with you guys on what's going on the channel, because all sorts of activities are coming up here as we head toward the month of Spooktacular. All right. Uh, hey, Brene, how are you? Glad you're here. Glad you're here. It's gonna be a fun night tonight. That's for sure. Hello, Carrie. How are you? Glad you're here. Glad you're here. Bryn will be here shortly, and then we'll be able to have a really fun discussion. It's gonna be an entertaining show for sure. It's been a week of first for me. Not only am I interviewing Bryn here, it was just going to be a first time for me, but I also want to bring attention to a movie that you'll be able to see my review of it in October, but I'm still gonna shout it out here now because it's Cinephobia, and I'm all about the Cinephobia tip. So far, they have put out. I've seen 4 films that they put out. I've seen Brightwood, which is the best movie of the year. That's right, I said it. Of course, I have not seen The Widow Cliquot. I have not seen that, so maybe that would change. You know, I'm just going the best movie that I've seen myself. I would love to see The Widow Cliquot with Haley Bennett, but I have not been able to get that. I know it's playing at festivals right now. I think it's looking for a distributor as well, which will not be a problem. I'm sure somebody will buy that film like that. But it is getting absolutely rave reviews. Haley has been yeah, she's been she might get some Oscar. She might get that nomination this year that she should have gotten for Swallow. That would be poetic justice, if you ask me. And she has a fighting chance because the movie is being received very, very well, and hopefully it'll be released to the home market soon. But the movie I want to talk about, like I've done 4 Cinephobia films, and I've done Brightwood, and I've done Bandits of Love. I've watched, but I have not gotten a. I have to get a copy of this. I'm gonna have to. I have to get a physical copy. I don't want to do it by screener, but it's gonna be The Glass Table. I'm gonna watch The Glass Table, and that'll be the 3rd one I've watched, and then the 4th movie that I watched, and this is a very interesting film too, is the Latent Image. Um, so this is from Cinephobia. This is their 4th release. They mark it down sort of like a Criterion. You know, then they number their movies. So that was a first for me. I've never reviewed a film like that before. Oh, good for you, Sarah. Good for you. Um, uh, I have never reviewed a film like this before. I've reviewed 2 films with elements, but I've never reviewed a straight queer horror film. And this is what this is. But this is so good. It is definitely a horror film. Yes, it features a mostly gay cast, and a director, but it is so good. It is dark. It is a horror film all the way through and through, and definitely deserves to be talked about. And I hope people do. I'm actually going to put it out here as saying all these folks. I know you guys are out here as film reviewers. Um, but I want to see. I know it's going to hit streaming too. I know this is going to hit streaming. I want to see how many of my fellow reviewers are actually going to be bold enough to watch this and review it. I don't care if you review it good or bad. I just want to see you actually review it and talk about it. So that's a challenge. I'm going to throw down that right there. I'm going to be very interested in see who's going to man up and or woman up and review a movie like that because it is unlike anything I've ever seen before, and most likely not unlike anything anybody else has seen based on what I've seen. I have not seen anybody review anything like this. There's been 2 films that I've reviewed that had elements, like I said, The Children of Sin, which is an excellent film, top-notch film, and Dying to Sleep had elements as well, and that also was a very strong film. And you'll be able to see that film review as well in October for 31 Days of October. So let's catch up with the calendar. We'll catch up with the calendar because we are very, very busy. Uh, next week on the Tuesday the 19th, I was going to be going to Dragon Guy channel, Brian from Dragon Guy's channel, but that got postponed. So I'm not sure when we're going there, but we do have a plan, and it's going to be pretty exciting. On the 19th, Tuesday the 19th, next Tuesday, we'll be interviewing Shane Barella. He is the owner operator of Scented Leaf Tea House in Tucson, Arizona. He's got four stores there, and we'll be talking to him about his business. I cannot wait to talk to him about his business. There's Anna. Anna is here. That's right. Anna will be going live. I don't know. I didn't see you go live today, Anna. So I'm thinking that you're going live tonight. So if you're going live tonight, oh, okay. Okay. So now I don't feel bad. Thank you. Thank you for saving me, because I was thinking if you went live today, I missed it, but I didn't see you go live. I didn't get any notifications saying that you were live. So I know that Anna will be live later on, and then we can all go over there and have a fun time for sure. Um, so that's going to be on next Tuesday. We'll talk to the owner operator of Scented Leaf Tea House. On Wednesday, we have two shows. We have two shows Wednesday, two shows. The first show will be at 2 o'clock. We'll be at 2 o'clock. We'll be interviewing Matt Cuss. He's a YouTube creator. He runs the Pugwall 316 channel, horror channel, and he lives in the UK. So we're taking a trip to the UK. The doorbell just rang, so that can only mean one thing. That means our guest is here, and you know what that means. As soon as he gets here, we go up. So share us out if you want to, and be aware that this interview might be a little salty. Just letting you guys know that up in front. But please help me welcome Bryn Pryor to the show. Here we go.
Hi there.
Hey, Bryn.
Does this look like crap?
No, you look great.
Okay.
Oh, we went with the Eli Cross name. Oh, sweet.
I wasn't sure what you wanted.
You know what? We're gonna talk.
Care.
You know what? We're unleashing this. There's
right.
no hold bar here, my friend. I'm taking this on head on because afterwards I have a couple of questions I'm going to ask you.
I did it. It's my fault. I'm so neurotic. You could accuse me of anything. You got to go chance of striking guilt. Korean War. That was me. That was mine.
Yeah. So this is as you can see, this is the name that you've garnered your most acclaim for underneath the Eli Cross name, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And I was just talking about two of your films that I've seen. I've seen three of your films. I saw Cowboys and Engines.
Oh,
and I saw Upload, and I saw Corruption.
Okay.
And
that's every end of the spectrum right there.
You know what though? Honestly, and not, you know, Corruption and Upload were amazing films. They were amazing films. It was funny because before you got here, I was commenting on that, and I was going like, yes. So Eli Cross, as we know him here, is not only a fine director, he is also one of the biggest names in adult entertainment, adult films. You've been nominated and put into several. How many Hall of Fames are you in anyway? I think 3 or 4, right?
I mean, I only know so technically there was an Adam Film World Hall of Fame back in the day.
Okay.
And I was in the Adam Film World Hall of Fame. That is, of course, now long gone. AVN Hall of Fame. And I think XRCO did a Hall of Fame briefly, and I think I got inducted into that. XBiz has not done one, and that's totally fine.
I mean, despite them being here or gone now, like you mentioned one that's no longer with us, but it still doesn't take away the fact that you were included into their Hall of Fame. That is, that's very prestigious. I mean, for the films that you made, I mean, and I do believe back then, you actually earned your way into those Hall of Fames based on your peers, saying that you are a great filmmaker, you make great content, and I mean, your producers and your other directors and your actors, they all agreed upon that. Now, as we have found out with the Oscars now, Oscars are pretty much bought and paid for. And has that spread to the adult film Hall of Fames now? Are they now bought and paid for?
Um, I mean, I don't know anything about the modern. I don't really have any insight into how AVN works at all anymore.
Yeah,
I honestly, I look at AVN magazine now, and I don't understand what I'm looking at. Um, so I'm married to Casey Calvert, and she had never seen what I consider to be a real AVN. And I actually had to get on eBay and buy, I think I bought the January 2000 AVN because I wanted to show her why I got so frustrated by the modern AVN. Because I said, like, this is a tool that I don't understand. I can't figure out who this is for. It's got some video reviews, and it's got a cam girl I've never heard of on the cover, and it's got a weird um, Playboy-esque softcore, badly photographed layout of an adult performer in the magazine that I'm pretty sure that girl didn't pay for. And then it's got some toy ads, and I'm like, okay, AVN magazine was for retailers and was for essentially like the adult video companies kind of advertised at each other because it was how we kept score, right?
right.
Now I don't know who that magazine is for. Like it's not for fans, and it's not certainly not for retailers.
Yeah, because
And
there's no more
I,
there's no more retailers, are there?
yeah, exactly. So I don't know. So I have no input into what AVN is doing now. Um, I will say, and you can draw your own conclusions, that at this year's AVN Awards, um, Vixen Media Group won 83% of the awards that they were nominated for, um, which, in my experience from 5 years of running AVN, uh, in our time, that was not something that would have happened
Right.
authentically. But so you can draw your own conclusions from that.
There are no more. Yeah, I mean there are. Okay, so someone knows Casey Calvert. Is she a citizen? Did you marry a citizen or did you marry a performer?
Oh, she's a performer.
Oh, okay.
She's very well. She's a much bigger deal now than I am. She got Director of the Year this year at XBiz for her features. She's a contract director for Lust Cinema. I am her DP. I shoot her movies, but she's been a performer for 10 years, um, and is much more well known now than I am.
Okay. Okay. Uh, I will have Reed. Our friend Reed knew who she was right away. I don't I don't know anybody anymore. I knew our mutual friend, and that was about it. I have no idea who's who. In fact, somebody was giving me a small lesson today, and I have no idea who you're talking about. Like because I've been you know
Yeah.
so I don't think I think the last film that I saw was actually your film, was
Oh,
Upload and Corruption. So I had no idea what's going on, but that's why you're here for, to help, to talk about the business a little bit, about your career. Um,
yeah. Well, Upload's
no,
only what 2007. So
yeah, no, no, well, that's okay. Um, you and I, how we met, and we met through our mutual friend. And that was because you were a cat rescuer. You rescue
yes,
cats. Yes, you
yeah,
rescue six. Uh, so obviously, animals were very important to you, and I
yeah,
and I and I love that part about it. That's what really made me really like you as a human being, because it's like, because not only did I hear great things about you from our friend, and she always did. She had always had nothing but niceness to say about you. And of course the cats, including the mad cat Willow. Uh,
who I still have.
Willow is still with us. You're
She's
kidding
17.
me.
No, she's 17.
Wow. Wow, that's so cool. That's
She's
so cool.
totally fine.
Willow was the man. That was like always that was always like anybody mess with you guys. That would be the phone call would be to me, Mad Willow, because Willow was crazy back in the day.
She's
Um,
mellowed a lot.
yeah, that's so cool. I didn't even think about this if she was still with us.
Yeah,
That's so sweet. All right, so let's talk about your beginning because I don't know that much about that. So,
sure.
where were you born and raised at?
I'm originally from Arizona, um, which is not my fault, but I have no interest in going back. I come from a long, long line of white trash, and grew up in a trailer surrounded by rusting cars. Got into the adult industry in 1989. I had been running a warehouse for a comic book distributor in Phoenix, and they were going out of business. And I saw an ad for Castle Boutique, which was it's still a big chain of stores. It's owned by someone completely different now, but at the time it was a single store in Phoenix. They needed a warehouse manager. I got that job. Competence is a curse. So 3 months later, I was running the store, and managed that that store through an expansion into being 4 stores and becoming a chain. Um, Moved out to LA to pursue filmmaking. And then um, I knew several people in the industry from running the castle. I knew people who'd done purchasing, people who owned companies. And so my first job in adult in LA was for a magazine company called Champ Distribution, which is long, long, long gone, who did hardcore magazines because at the time, um, no newsstand magazine had hardcore. They had spreads in Hustler and they had nude layouts, but there was no actual sex. So at a time when VHS was still the only home video, the only portable hardcore you could have was in a magazine. So we printed these 100-page magazines that sold for $20 a piece that were only available in adult stores. We did 8 of those a month. Um, at that time, I was also working in mainstream. I was doing PA work, I was doing AD work, I was doing camera work. I directed 4 movies for Roger Corman at Concord Studios.
What movies were those?
Nothing you've ever heard of. Um, so
You
one of them,
you'd be surprised if he tells. I'm telling you, drop those names and someone here in their chat, they will know who
okay,
I'm telling you.
all right. So Concord, which was Roger's studio at the time, I directed 4 of the last movies before Roger sold Concord. 2 of them were actually still unfinished when Roger sold Concord. And as
That's
Roger
what we
used to
did,
like to
too.
say, Roger used to say, I am the only Mexican in town who still has his bar mitzvah money. So Roger never missed a penny that he could make. Roger sold all the credits on everything that was unreleased. Um, so one of the movies that I shot that was originally called Cloak of Madness when I shot it, I eventually saw it. It is now available on DVD as The Coroner. It has 2 other people listed as directors. Uh, and it's fascinating because the movie when I made it was not good, but the people who bought it managed to make it even worse. They decided that it needed more nudity. So they added 20 minutes of the main character just hanging out in a strip club before the movie even starts. Except that they couldn't be bothered to track down Dean St. Louis, who had been my lead actor in the film. So they just got some guy who is vaguely shaped, roughly like Dean St. Louis in the sense that he has 2 eyes, 2 ears, and a nose. Um, Literally put a fake mustache and sunglasses and a baseball cap on him and had him sit in the corner pretending to be Dean for 20 minutes while strippers lap
You,
dance in his lap.
you know what? That probably sounds exactly how Steven Seagal does his new movie his movies now.
Yes.
You know,
So,
am I right about that? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, 100% correct. Um, so they took a really bad movie and made it even worse. Um, One of them, is now called Double Cross 2. I don't know what Double Cross was. When I shot it, it certainly wasn't a sequel to anything. But it's out there somewhere. That one has Mickey Rourke, because I had Mickey Rourke for a day as my lead in that movie.
Okay.
Um, and then the other two I have never seen. One of them I vaguely remember was called Nazarene Gambit. I don't know what it's. I don't know if it exists now. And then
That
another
one,
one
that one does
yeah,
stuff.
I don't know what I can't remember what the title was of the other one that I shot. It was something very generic and vague. But the fourth one that I shot, ironically, I had Martin Sheen playing the president for an hour. He came in, we shot his speech twice, said thank you very much. He left. That was it. But yeah, those movies, two of them I've never been able to find. Two of them are out there and are terrible.
Probably out there in the public domain.
No. I'm sure they're not public domain, but I don't know that anybody's actually exerting the rights on them. But
Okay. So you got those 4 movies with Roger. Now
mhm.
you met Roger after you got into. I mean, you were still working the bookstores and whatnot. So I mean, that you hadn't made any film for anybody yet, and until you made the films for Roger, right?
Not officially. I had shot a bunch of my own stuff. Like I had in 1985, two of my friends and I shot an entire feature film on Super 8 because we thought that was a good idea. I made my first movie when I was 9 years old. It was a stop action movie. And I did a half hour short on Super 8 in 1983. And then we did a sequel to it that, we had done a bunch of shorts and a bunch of other stuff. I'd shot some stuff on 16. But my first feature technically was for Roger. It would have been Cloak of Madness or The Coroner now. So
Um, See, yes, our friend, did you see that? He just says that Bryn has a huge catalog on IMDb. He is impressed. Yes, yes. And the thing about it is, let me just say this right off the bat. So, like, your movies are not the average adult movie. Um, Not what I've seen. You write your stories. You're a screenwriter as well. You
yeah.
write your stories. You actually are old school in the fact that you will make a movie. That's what you do. I mean, now, from what I understand, from what I read before I did this show, was that there are really no more movies being made. There are nothing but clips. There's like 10-minute clips of the performers. There's no more films being made. Um, that's to me, I find that other than maybe Axel Braun, who I've never seen any of his movies, but I have seen pictures of when he does the superhero parodies. I know that boy, he's a fanboy. He is an absolute fanboy about that. He's a comic book fan, you can tell. Um, is
Well,
it?
let me tell you two things about Axel Braun since you're going to bring him up. Thing one, I shot all those movies
Yes,
and wrote the scripts.
yes,
Um, Thing two is um, many days Axel wasn't actually there.
yeah, yeah.
Most of the people,
I also know the third one as well, but I'll tell you that one on camera. I do know the third one. Yes, I'm aware of the
um,
third one.
it is not, it is, there are actually plenty of companies who do what they now call features. Um, they just now, for financial reasons, have to release them as episodes. So there's still story driven stuff. Um, Gamma still does it, Missa still does it. Um, uh, Dorsell is still doing feature based stuff. Lust does features that the stuff that I do for Casey is very much like when I was doing features. It's very character driven, it's very story oriented. So there is still some of it out there. The difference is simply that in the era of the internet, no one is going to sit down and watch a movie. They want it broken up into episodes. So like the big project that I did this year with Casey, is it's a 6-episode miniseries. It's season 3 of her series Primary, um, and that's very serious business. It was big money, and we spent a lot of time and a lot of effort on it. And the scripts are very character and acting heavy. The difference is simply that it's 6 episodes rather than being a 3-hour movie.
Okay. Okay. So each episode is like 45 minutes long.
Depends on the sex scene, yeah, but I'd say each episode runs between 30 and 45.
And you said something I caught right there. You said sex scene. So it's not just that, it's about telling a story. I know people
Mhm.
laugh at that, but you know what? They just haven't seen. I mean, back in the late 60s and the 70s, um, I mean, adult films were mainstream. They were
Sure.
mainstream. I mean, what was I guess the Exorcist of the time, because it came out at the same time, was the movie with Linda Lovelace. I
Yeah,
forget the
Deep
name.
Throat.
Okay,
Deep
yeah,
Throat.
Deep Throat. So Deep Throat was on the equal as far as the adult film industry, as far as the releases go. It was the same level as the Exorcist, as far as the notoriety and the crowds. I
Sure.
saw that, and so people were like lined up around the block, and I
Hmm.
was like, you know, now people today they can't even comprehend back then that that's what it was,
Right.
and it was because it was so story driven. Um, Now, when you started your career, it was still story driven. So,
Sure.
uh, so what has been the biggest change as far as that goes? Is it because people don't have the attention span? Is it because I mean, are the girls, are the guys and the girls, do they even try to act, or they just show up? Or I mean, because back in those early days, you had actors. I mean, you had
Right.
actors. The actors they were crossing over. You
Yeah.
know, they would do an adult film, and then they would go over and do a mainstream film. Um, I don't think that happens anymore, does it?
Um, in some very small cases, it does. So the most recent one would be Chloe Cherry, who was a very popular performer, um, actually had a very significant part in the last season of Euphoria and is going to be in the next season of Euphoria. And so it happens on occasion. Um, but as far as what has changed, I mean, the short answer is everything, literally everything. The business now is at a state where it completely transforms itself about every 3 years and becomes something entirely different. Um, right now in the business, um, no one makes money selling porn. Literally no one, because no one buys porn. Those days are over. They
Well,
make
don't
money.
I thought you I
Mhm.
thought you had to. I thought, like, I didn't know anything about. This tells you how out of touch. I didn't know anything at all. I'd never even heard of Pornhub till 5 years ago.
Okay.
And when my friend asked me about it, and I was like, "What's a Pornhub?" I had no
Yeah.
idea. And then he, was like, "You don't know what?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm married, and I don't go to those places." And back before I moved out here, I remember porn, and it was always behind a paywall because that way they would stop kids from watching it.
Yeah. Well, that is not true anymore. There's a click through that you have to click through saying that you're 18, most places.
Okay.
But in most places, you don't have to put in credit card info. You don't have to put in any personal info. And Pornhub changed everything. It's the biggest website in the world,
It is.
and yeah, it is. It absolutely is. It has more traffic every day than the next 3 websites combined, and it is free. It is 100% free. And
For you
the
to go there, and how how do they do that? How do they do that without getting into any trouble?
Well, there's nothing to get them into trouble. You're verifying your age to log in.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and so that gets them past age verification.
Okay.
And above and beyond that, now, when Pornhub started, and this is getting into a whole rabbit hole of other issues, but the way Pornhub became popular is it was almost 100% piracy. They just launched a website and started posting other people's content because who gave a fuck that pornographers were going to complain that you stole their content?
Wow.
And for almost a decade, that was how Pornhub operated.
So
Is
they were stealing other people's content.
yes, yes, blatantly, like not even trying to deny it. And a few people took them to court, but it took forever. Pornhub is based in Canada, so or Cyprus, depending on where you want to trace them back to. And so it was very difficult to take them to court in the first place. And but then they started buying up other brands and doing original content and using the traffic of stolen content to drive traffic to their brands. And eventually, Pornhub had just changed the market to the point that no one pays for porn. Now, the new model is OnlyFans, has somewhat changed that back. People will pay for OnlyFans because it
I've
is,
heard of that one.
yeah, because it is in a sense bespoke. Theoretically, you log into OnlyFans and you are interacting one-on-one with that person, and you are chatting with that person, and you are buying content directly from that person, and that person is creating content that is only available on their OnlyFans page or their loyal fans page or their Fansly page. And where those fan sites have changed the industry now is there are a lot of girls who frankly cannot be bothered to go shoot scenes. It's not worth their time. Angela White is a good example. Angela White makes $20,000 a day on OnlyFans. Why is Angela going to leave the house to go shoot a boy-girl scene for $2,000? It's a waste of her time. It's a waste. It's literally not worth it for her. She's losing money to go do mainstream porn. And
Wow.
and so barrier one to trying to shoot a feature or anything story driven is you have to get the girls who actually want to go to set. Barrier two is exactly what you said. Back in the day, people fell into porn because they wanted to be actors.
Yeah.
Now people set out to want to be adult performers. It's like a job path. It's a career choice. They decide I am going to go do this.
Okay.
But they don't necessarily want to act. And they certainly don't want to spend 12 hours on set or 14 hours on set. And so when they can go and make the same amount of money doing a gonzo scene that has them in and out in 3 hours if they're shooting for Mike Quasar. So you have to find the people who want to do the job. And so in making story-driven porn features, the bench just gets smaller and smaller and smaller that you can pull from.
Wow. That's so the game has changed. So there's not very many.
Completely,
Wow.
completely.
And like you've been in the business for quite a while, and you know other people in the business quite a while. How do they how do they adjust? I mean, how do you adjust from and you said that no one gets paid. So does that mean for a performer, the only way for them to actually make any money is actually do OnlyFans?
They certainly have more potential to make money from doing the fan sites. You know, if you go back 20 years, 25 years, girls would do adult to make more money feature dancing because they could make a lot of money feature dancing. And so the girls who could feature dance and make a lot of money feature dancing would come and do a couple of movies a month to keep their name out there, to keep themselves popular, so that they could get big paychecks for feature dancing. Now replace feature dancing with the fan sites. So they want to keep their name out there as being a performer. They want to keep themselves known. So they'll come and do a few scenes if they're high profile so that they can keep their fan sites active. But the goal is not doing the scenes. The goal is driving traffic.
Wow. So that hurts you as a director, as a screenwriter who wants to make, like who wants to make serious content, not just bullshit. You actually take pride in. See, that's the one thing that's one thing I have to say again, is that you take pride in the work that you do. I've uploaded corruption were just, I mean, not only were they not fantastic, people say they're fantastic adult films. They were just fantastic films, period. They
Well,
were
thanks.
really exciting and inventive and creative and written well. I said before you got here, I said it's almost like the sex scenes got in the way of the rest of the movie because the movie was so good. Now, I don't know
Um,
sure how many times you've heard that, but I'm sure you have heard that quite a bit, to be honest. I'm sure a lot of people, and when you get awards like that, when you get praise for films like that, does that make you did that because you did Cowboys and Engines, I mean, and which is another fantastic film, and the one I watched and I thoroughly was impressed. Did that just spark you to want to go back to trying to make a mainstream film, or does that still happen today, like it did in the 80s and the 90s, where the stigma would follow you? What do you do? What kind of movies you make? Oh, I make adult films. Oh, you're one of those. Or is it, or are people that narrow-minded still when it comes down to, like, if you're looking for a film to make and to direct? Do the doors open for you, or do they close because because you're known as an adult director?
I was literally just telling a friend this story 45 minutes ago. Um, so you will notice that on my IMDb that there's essentially no mainstream after Cowboys and Engines. And the reason for that is that I had to create a new stage name for mainstream. So now there's a separate mainstream IMDb for my mainstream stage name that has all of my mainstream work because we made a mainstream movie in 2017. And when we were looking for distribution, the fact that that mainstream movie had been directed by a porn director kept us from getting decent distribution. So I took my name off of it and created a new persona, and I have used that persona for mainstream work ever since.
It's so wrong. The stigma should not be there. It's like in the 80s. It's like, get over yourselves already. People do multiple things all the time now. Why can't you do, I mean, like you said, I mean, it's a chance to, it's work, it's something to be creative about. I'm disappointed to hear that still happens. I would think that in this day and age that you would be able to do whatever you wanted to do it, and without that stigma being attached.
Absolutely not. Now, to be fair, the stigma is not really about, oh, you're doing something that's sex oriented. What the stigma is about is that the perception of porn, and to be fair, largely correctly, is that it is all technically terrible, that it is poorly shot, poorly acted, poorly written, poorly edited, and with very, very few exceptions, that is true. And
Mm.
so where the stigma comes in is, oh, you've done porn, you're a hack, not you've done porn, you're a pervert. The stigma is, You have porn on your resume, that means you are bad at your job.
Oh, that's not even true. I mean,
Now, that wasn't why we lost the
is that
distribution
true?
deal.
Are there people out there that are terrible directors?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But they get the jobs because nobody else will do it.
They get the jobs because most people don't care. There is a thing in porn where, and this has never changed. It's not really cool to care too much when you're shooting porn. It makes other porn people very uncomfortable when you care too much. You know, you're supposed to care enough. It was always something that made people very uncomfortable about me, is that, you know, I used to tell my crew, like, especially with Upload, because Upload was 22 days and it was a ridiculously hard shoot. I told my crew, I said, look, at no point during this shoot does anybody get to say, this is only porn. We're not doing that. For the 22 days of this shoot and however long we're in prep, you're going to treat this like a movie because I'm treating this like a movie. When it's done, when the job is over, I don't care what you say and I don't care how you feel about it. But while we're here, this is too much work. It is too much effort. It's too much emotional investment for you to diminish it by saying it's only porn. We're not doing that. But in most of it, that's what people do. They go, it's good enough. It's
Yeah.
porn.
Uh, now that's, you know what, and I'll speak to that too, as far as you being kind. I mean, I've known that. I've known that since you and I have started talking. You know, even though we talked lightly throughout the years, because I didn't, but I've always sensed that. I've always known that about you. I knew that from our mutual friend, in that you were a very kind-hearted person. Um, and it's one of the reasons, like I said, I have nothing but respect for you, because plus, like I said, you rescue cats. You still got Willow. I mean, you're still a badass. Let's put it on the table. All right. Um, now, what have been some of the most, because, like, now, I'm just totally, I'm sitting here, just, I'm sort of blown away by the story about Cowboys and Engines, because I would have thought that would have unlocked the door for you, because that was such a great movie. And totally mainstream science fiction. I mean, it's like, give this guy his money already. You have three really strong actors, very well known in the science fiction community. Malcolm McDowell, Walter Koenig from Star Trek, and of course, the late Richard Hatch. I would have thought that would have opened the doors wide open for you to get whatever you need for funding or whatnot to get that movie made. I didn't think your name would ever, I didn't think your past should have anything to do with what you're doing. Because if they ever did look at your past, then, it's like, go look at the movies he did make that he's won all these awards for. Okay. Go look at these. These are, honestly, a few snips here and there, you have a rated R thriller. It's not adult. It could be a rated R thriller that you would see on any on Cinemax or Stars or anything else. There's nothing there that's gonna scream out there and say, "Oh my God, I can't work with him because he's in porn." It's like, no, you can work with him. You can invest your money with him because he's gonna make you a goddamn great movie. That's what you do, you know. So what was your first? What was your first movie that you did as an adult director? And what do you remember about it? I mean, was this? I mean, was it? What was the emotions like doing this? Had you ever been on a set before? Was that your first film? Your first time you ever been on a set?
Um, so unfortunately, because I'm old, uh,
I'm
I
older.
don't remember what the first set is that I was on. Um, it was an on the set for the magazines that I was running for Champ, for sure. But I don't remember what the first set was that I had been on. I had been on dozens and dozens by the time that I directed any adult. because I went from running Champ to running AVN, and I ran AVN for 5 years. Um, and I was on a bunch of sets. I can't tell you the first porn set I was on, and it's ridiculous to me that I can't remember. I believe, and I might be wrong, I believe that the first adult feature I directed was for Vivid, and it was called Dangerous Intent. And I think it was, if it was Dangerous Intent that was the first one that I directed, it was a Cruel Intentions knockoff, which is funny to me because nobody seemed to know that Cruel Intentions was a remake of Dangerous Liaisons. But
in the modern day.
yeah, it's like they said, "Oh, we want to do Cruel Intentions." I said, "Oh, you mean Dangerous Liaisons?" And I got beep. Like, okay, then. But I wrote the script, which is why it was called Dangerous Intent, because I'm like, okay, fine, I'm gonna mix the two. I think that was the first adult feature I directed. I think I had shot some scenes before that. I don't know. It's all a blur. I don't even do drugs. It's just kind of a
Yeah.
general mishmash of career. I don't know.
Well, who was the first actor or actress you worked in that impressed you with their skill? And like you're sitting there watching them, you going like, I could see them doing something else. Do you?
Ooh, Gina Fine.
Okay.
Uh, Gina Fine was a really incredible actor, and I honestly feel like had it been a different world, had social mores been different, and that she had not been fighting the demons that she was fighting, I think Gina Fine was the first one that I ever watched and said, this woman has got like actual chops. She could go and be the real deal. And then there've been a handful since then. Um, but she was probably the first.
Yeah. Um, I thought our mutual friend had a real good shot. In fact, she actually was in a movie that a friend's band was in. Uh, uh, the Final Days with Ralph Fiennes and
Oh yeah, Strange Days.
yeah, Strange Days. Yeah, she
Strange
was
Days.
in
Yeah,
that one,
yeah,
and
yeah.
my friend's band Diatribe was in that. It was in that movie as well.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it was strange. It was because I remember she said that. It says I was in the Strange Days, and going like, "You were?" It says, "Well, my friend was in there." It says, "What's your friend?" His name is Larry, and he's got a band called Diatribe. And he goes, "Oh gosh, yes." It's just like it's like it's the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon just all at once.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, you mentioned that too about that, and that also seems to, though. I mean, I'm not sure what it's like now, but I know back in the '80s and early '90s, um, it just ravaged the between AIDS and the drug abuse. It just
yeah.
ravaged the industry, and a lot of self-destructive behavior.
Mhm.
Really sad. It was almost like pro wrestling. Really, that if you put them side by side, they probably had the same mortality rate.
Yeah.
Has that gotten better? Are the actors more aware of who they are? Do they take better care of themselves mentally now? I mean, and do studios or producers or directors, are they more hands on, in protecting performers from things like that? Because I don't know if there's it's the same it's the same shenanigans happens today as it did back then, but I mean, even back then in your mainstream, and you were reading about all these performers dropping dead, you know,
Yeah.
suicides, drug overdoses, AIDS. I mean, it was just horrific. But then you had this, like I said, you had the same thing with wrestlers. The same thing was going on
Right.
with them. Um, but I guess they got it got notoriety is because of the fields they were in. Um, has that changed too? Are the performers better adjusted for today's world, or do we still see do you still see some some sad cases?
Well, there's always going to be some.
Mm.
Um, I feel like there are fewer people now who stumbled in. It's much more a choice now. Um, and at the moment, there doesn't seem to be a huge drug issue in the industry. Um, Everyone in the industry is stoned, but that's fine. It's not killing anybody. Um, I don't feel like, I mean, there are so few studios. However, in the wake of Harvey Weinstein and in the wake of Me Too, most of the studios have now really, really gone out of their way to make sure that there's a lot of consent talk on set before and after scenes about, making sure that everybody knows what they're there to do, that
Right.
they're okay, that they're doing it. Um, and uh, I don't feel like the end result, frankly, is that different from how the industry used to be. Um, it's almost a generational thing. Like in if you go back 20 years, I feel like those performers just seemed to be a little bit more capable of standing up for themselves and saying, yeah, fuck you, I'm not going to do that. And so I don't feel like those consent talks were missing. Um, they don't really seem like they were that necessary. The modern generation of performers seem to come in needing that buffer of of conversation and that buffer of negotiation, and that's fine. It doesn't take anything away from what we're doing, um, and so there's a lot more of that now, and uh, you'll very, very rarely encounter a situation now where somebody feels like they did something in a scene that they didn't want to do, or they were asked to do something that they didn't want to do. Um, and, you know, the companies are very, very careful about that now. So,
Our friend Steven mentions a young performer, I guess a young actor. Um, I guess that still happens with males too, right? August Ames passed away
oh,
due
August Ames is a female.
at the girl. Oh,
Yeah.
sounds like a guy.
Yeah. August Ames killed herself 2 years ago. 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Um,
Oh,
and I knew August. I had shot August. And August was very sweet. Um, it wasn't it wasn't really industry related. It was really more related to uh, a lot of deeply personal issues that, in some sense, the industry exacerbated, and in some sense, I think the industry um, kept her going longer. But
mm,
I'm close friends with a pair of people who work for This American Life, who did a very, very in-depth investigative podcast into August Ames and her suicide, called The Last Days of August, and it's great. It's kind of heartbreaking.
yeah.
The truth about August is that there are people for whom this world is just never going to be right, and August was one of those people. And the industry, when things like that happen, the industry always kind of turns on itself and tries to eat itself. And her boyfriend was kind of a shitheel, but it wasn't it wasn't his fault. He wasn't responsible. I would love to say it was, because he's not one of my favorite people, but it wasn't. The industry wasn't responsible. It was just that August was kind of a mess, and uh, things several things reached a head all at one moment, and August hanged herself in a park, in a public park.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How do you, because like you said, this is one of the things is where being older is better in my opinion. But when does I mean have you, because I mean, when do you go from, I'm sure a lot of performers, both male and female, they totally respect what you've done. I mean, they, as far as your career goes, they, hey, you're doing a shoot with Eli Cross, because probably, that's your name that you use. I'm sure a lot of new performers or inexperienced performers or whatnot, they all come up to you for advice and they want to know, like, like, what do I do, or how am I going to do this, or, like, what would you do, or what do you think? Um, how do you separate, you know, Eli Cross, the film director, from Bryn, the married man, the one who loves his family, and, is compassionate and caring. How do you separate that when you're on set?
Um, I'm going to answer that in two parts. Uh, the first part is that this is an industry with absolutely zero institutional memory. So new performers come in, and I have, with very few exceptions, now there are exceptions, but with very few exceptions, every new performer I have met in the last 5 years approaches this business as if it began with them. Nothing happened before they got in. And so most of them have no idea who I am, nor do they care. I am the guy signing the check that day. And many of them, honestly, because the turnover is so fast in these days, because there are always new performers,
Yeah.
many of them I know I will never see again. And the relationship is strictly show up. Here's the widget we're going to make today, because for a lot of these companies, that's what you're doing. You're making widgets. If you're making scenes, they want them all to be exactly the same. So you're just going,
I
that's
love the
and
terms you guys come up with. I'm like I remember, when I learned that I was a civilian. I'm going like I'm going like, wait a minute, I'm a talent buyer. I book bands. I booked over 1,000 shows. How am I a civilian? Well, because you're not in the business.
you're
Okay.
not here. You're not here. You're a civilian.
Yeah, yeah. Like,
Um, but the other, so part two of the answer is that there is no Eli Cross. Like, Eli Cross is just a name that I use because if someone calls me Eli, I know they don't know me. I'm Bryn on set. I'm Bryn in the industry. I'm Bryn. There's no Eli Cross character because I'm not a performer. I don't need that protection. A lot of performers, particularly the female performers, there will be a character that is their female performer persona. And that
right.
character will often be very different from who they are at home.
Yes.
Um, and I have had people who I've dated where we were great together and I didn't get along at all with their stage persona. Like the performer I didn't get along with because it's very different. That's not true for me. I've never needed that protection. A, I'm a man, so I'm not that, I don't have fans threatening me or stalking me or any of that. And B, I'm not a performer. So my level of interest to people outside the industry is near zero. Um, so I'm just Bryn. But if anyone asked my opinion, I would say, here is what I will do. So don't do that. Because historically, virtually every decision I have ever made has been wrong. So I will give you my opinion, and then I will tell you not to do the thing that I think you should do, because every time I do the thing that I think I should do, I'm wrong.
What
So
do you mean by that? I
that's it.
mean, like, what do you mean by that? By you're wrong? Like, like, what decisions could you make that you like? What, in picking a project and writing a script, and I mean, I'm a little curious by that because I don't see you've done anything wrong.
Uh,
I think you've done everything right. You just, you're
it's a
just
little different being
gonna.
on this side of it. You know, most of us aren't where we ever thought we would be. And I'm certainly not where I ever thought I would be or where I wanted to be. But now at the age of 55, I'm a lot closer to the end than I am to the beginning. And I have to sit back and look at the fact that, I've more or less accomplished what I'm going to accomplish. And none of it is what I really wanted to accomplish, but that's fine because I don't really have a choice for it to not be fine. So there you
I
go.
think I think to me though, see, I think you think you're more of a victim of circumstance than not. I mean, again, it goes back to some of like the, in Cowboys and Engines, it's a great example. It's like, okay, again, you didn't do anything wrong. You made adult films. Okay. Well, if not you, then it was going to be the next person on the line. But you made them and you made them really well. You didn't come in there. You didn't punch in. You didn't go 9 to 5 and I don't give a shit. You came in there. You put passion in every movie that you made. It's not just a porn movie. Anybody's ever watched any of your films can see that it's not. Anybody can see, anybody with any movie fan, and I'm talking even the ones that are prudes, so to speak. Um, if you watch one of your films, and if like I say, a few snips, and you're not watching anything different than what you watched in Hollywood with a little bit more nudity, so you're not doing anything wrong. You make great movies. What's really sucks is the fact that you get lumped, like you said, like a hack. That's not fair to me. That's anybody come up there and say, well, yeah, that guy's a hack or that guy's a. But have you seen his work? Have you seen the care that he put into it? He's no different from anybody else I've talked to, like doing this show. You're no different from anybody else. To me, you're just a film director. You're a film director. You're a producer. You're a screenwriter. You pick talent. You got a good eye for talent, and you're compassionate. And then I mean, there's nothing different from you than from any other mainstream director. And I'm just defending you. I'm defending you because I just feel like, because I had hoped that part of the business had changed so that wouldn't be happening. Like of course my view of the business is stuck back in the 90s, but still, you know I know I should, I guess I probably should have, I guess I just don't look at that. I don't know why. I don't know. I mean, I had, I don't know. I watched your films, and that's it. I don't know anybody. The young man in the chat here, Stephen Chang, he gave me a 25-cent education today about some of the people in the business. I have no idea who these people are. It's like, oh, have you heard this person? I don't know anybody. The only two people well, no, three, but I'll name two. The only two people I know is because I worked with them. I did a spoken word with them back in the 90s. Is Nina Hartley, and I got to meet, and I became friends with Richard Pacheco. I'm sure Nina is sitting on a beach somewhere drinking a mai tai, and good for her. But and I'm sure Richard is doing the same thing. I mean, there are, what do they say? There are no old performers in adult films these days.
Well, I can tell you. So Nina is living in a house in Thousand Oaks,
Good.
and Richard, who really prefers to go by Howie, go by
Yeah.
his real name. So Howie is pushing his book and still lives in the Bay Area and is a great guy.
He's a
He's
fantastic.
he's a
He's one.
sweetheart.
He really is, and I'm glad Nina is enjoying her retirement as well.
Yeah.
I mean, they have not been, so like I said before, it's like now the business has changed. What are some of the funnest experiences that you've had? Let's lighten it up a little bit. Um, or what are some of the funniest things that just had you just cracking up on set?
Um, let's see. So fun has been largely either before or after projects. Making the project is always the hard work. Doing something after the fact, winning awards or just getting recognition. That's always a lot of fun. Seeing the actors, the cast who've been really proud of something, that's always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Um, and then the funny stuff are things like day one of Spider-Man Triple X. One of the first things we shot is our version of the upside down kiss was an upside down blowjob in Spider-Man Triple X. And Xander passed out completely. He he convinced us, like, no, I'm good. I feel fine. I feel fine. Like, okay, fine. I turn around, I set up the camera, I turn back, and he's hanging limp. But his dick was still hard. I don't know how a kid did that, because it wasn't he wasn't injecting.
Please tell me, does Xander did not break into song in the middle of Spider-Man?
He did not break into song in the middle of
It's better than Spider-Man 3. Thank you very much. So you mentioned about the spy. So let's talk about that for real quick for a minute, because I think you revealed something about yourself. I'm excited to talk to you about it, and that you said that you wrote those stories and you directed the movies and whatnot. So
I would say I ghost directed some of them. There were many days when Axel was there to complain about hair and complain about the costumes, and make sure that we were shooting everything. It was either very tight or crazy wide. But yeah, most of the talent who were in those would tell you that I ghost directed a lot of them.
Were you the comic book fan, or was he the comic book fan?
I'm much more of a comic book fan. Axel knows a certain amount about comics. I mean, he's not a comic book fan. But if you got beyond Spider-Man and Batman,
he knows
Axel's his
so
knowledge base is a lot more narrow.
If so, it was you. Oh my God! So I saw the pictures. I saw pictures because they were commenting about, I was reading some of the websites, some of the mainstream websites. Of course, they couldn't show the, but they showed the costumes.
Oh yeah.
And me and my buddy Catfish, we were sitting there going like, he said, "Do you see this? See what?" He says, "Look at this." I said, "What is that?" I said, "It's a adult film." I said, "It's adult film. Those are costumes are accurate. They're comic book accurate." He goes, "Yeah." I said, "They're accurate. They're like lifted from the freaking page. Yeah. So why the hell can't mainstream Hollywood get this right?" It's like, I was like, that is, it's like, he says, "You want to check it out?" I said, "Well, no, but I'm, you can check it out, but you tell me how good it is."
The movies will only be disappointing. The photography was always the best part.
Oh my God, the costumes were just amazing.
Yeah,
I thought I was sitting there going like, man, Axel Braun is the man, because that's one thing we talk about a lot, comic book geeks. We talk about the costumes, like which costumes are accurate and which ones are not. Like, you see Wolverine and we're going like, how come he can't wear the Wolverine outfit like in the comic books? How come he can't, here he is walking around with the leather. He's looking like he's walking down the street. You wouldn't know who the hell he was. Where's the costume? It's just like there's no costumes. There's, it's just like there's nothing. There's no Scarlet Witch costume. It's like, that's not Scarlet Witch. I mean, it's cute, but it's not Scarlet Witch. And next thing you know, then you see the costume on the actress, and you're going like, that's Scarlet Witch. How did they do that? How come Hollywood can't do that? So what was your favorite comic book growing up? Let's talk about your favorite comic books. Obviously, you still have some, don't you? You still collect?
I mostly collect, like, I have everything digitally. When I moved to California in 1993, I financed my move by selling my collection. Yeah, I know. I mean, again, I was just telling the story. I'm of two minds, because I never would have been able to make the move if I hadn't sold the collection. But on the other hand, everything I had has increased an order of magnitude in value. And I look at what they cost now and think, oh my God, it was a fortune. When I was a kid, I was a huge Fantastic Four fan. And Iron Man was very big for me. Those are probably my two big ones. I was a huge Thor fan. I I liked certain runs of the Avengers. I was never a big DC guy. When I got into comics was when DC was very silly, and it just didn't really appeal to me, and the characters didn't really appeal to me. Batman was fine. I just could never understand why Batman didn't simply get shot.
We we
Super.
we have come, we have come to the conclusion is this. We have come to the conclusion that Batman is not a good guy. He's a bad guy. He really is. He's a
Well,
bad guy.
once Frank Miller got his hands on him, yes, Batman was very much a bad guy.
He's a bad guy. You sit there going like, like you watched, you sitting there watching like the Dark Knight, and you're sitting there going like, why doesn't he put a bullet in the freaking Joker's head? Why, obviously the guy's never gonna rehabilitate. But you allow him to come back over and over and over, and every time he kills innocent people. The count of people, anybody that Joker has killed after your first encounter, that's on you. That's not on him. It's on you. It's like, and they keep bringing them out. It's like, Heath Ledger's Joker says, is you won't kill me any more than I'll kill you because we need each other.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, the minute he said that to you, that's when you go ahead and pull out that 45 and put one in his dome and sit there and say, yeah, that's what you need.
Yeah.
But he was absolutely right. And also now you're looking at Batman with a whole different light, going like, he's not a good guy. He really is a bad guy.
Well, I think they said it in The Killing Joke. I think Joker even says it to him in The Killing Joke. He says, how many, the blood of how many is on your hands?
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't kill me. Like that, this is no longer on me. This is on you.
Yeah, he's absolutely right.
It's an interesting point. Yeah. So, I mean, yes, I haven't probably kept up with comics in the last 15 years. I dabble, but yeah.
It's so expensive now. It's so expensive. I mean, to actually become a collector, and they retcon to fucking death. I can't stand the retconning.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
The Marvel. It's sort of weird though that you're saying how, you were always the Marvel guy, not a DC guy, and now today, now I'm more of a DC animated guy.
Oh, I love the DC animated stuff.
Oh man, so good.
If Bruce Timm had been in charge of the DC films, they would have succeeded. Bruce Timm knows how to make a movie.
Bruce Timm, and then who you get to the casting director, right?
Andrea Romano.
Yeah. High five. Hell yeah. I loved Andrea Romano, man. She was the queen. Man, I sit there and watch those, and I was just like, man, she's just amazing. She knows exactly how to do it, who to pick, and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
That's so much fun. I watched. Okay, let me catch up with Steven here. I'm getting chat fixated. He did bring up something too that I want to talk about too. We got to talk about social media and that aspect of it. All right. Yes, talking about he's seen some of the so he saw some of your movies, the Avengers and X-Men. Okay, so I guess I'll ask you about that one if you don't mind.
Sure.
So
I vaguely remember.
How do you what was Joni Lauer like?
Oh,
that's a sad story.
She was so sweet. She was so sweet. She was incredibly insecure, and very, very nervous about the fact that she was completely comfortable being naked until she wasn't comfortable being naked. I honestly think she really liked the body paint because it was sort of a layer of distance. But she was very concerned that we were going to make her look too masculine. And I had a whole, because that was She-Hulk was one of the ones that Axel was not there for a couple of days. And but she was such a sweetheart. And I was so sad when I heard about her death.
Me too.
Um,
We all were.
yeah, you know, she wanted to do a good job. She just wanted to look pretty.
Yes,
And
she did. Oh,
and I
she was
don't
so
think that was
pretty.
something that she had to worry about for a while. She before it was always look strong, look like you can look like you can throw down with the guys. And then we get here in where it's something that's about sex and sexuality. And and everybody was very concerned. They're like, we don't know if she's going to be able to do the anal scene. We don't know if she's going to be able to do this. She wasn't concerned about any of that. She just wanted to look pretty. She didn't want to look like a guy with tits. And she was very concerned that we were going to shoot her and make her look too masculine. And and also she was concerned about, which is funny, she was concerned about her acting. And I took her aside and I said, you are so much better than anybody else that's in this movie. You really need to calm down about the acting. Like, you're golden. You're good. Um, she was great. I loved her. She was super sweet and really, really easy to work with.
I mean, even non wrestling fans, were saddened by that. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
we all watched her in the WWF and everything else, and it was just. I remember watching her on her YouTube channel. She had a YouTube channel. She'd go on there and she'd do videos, and it was just like, it was just, that was sad.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but but uh, uh, but let's talk a little bit about social media. How have you adjusted to social media? We're a couple old
Easy.
funky
I
guys. We're a
ignore it.
couple. Yeah, huh? You adore it?
I ignore it.
Oh, you ignore it. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
I think I post on Instagram like once a month, and then and I forget that it's there. And I don't think I posted on. I think I posted one thing on Twitter like 3 months ago, and I forget that Twitter is there. And I
you know,
occasionally start fights on Reddit. That's about as far as I go.
oh, I can't get rid of it. But you know what you need to do with your Instagram, right? You want to get instant. You want to get followers and action. How many cats you got now?
I know, right?
Seriously, how
Just
many
post
dogs?
cat pictures.
How many cats do you and Casey have?
We
I
officially
heard
have two, and then we have three ferals that live in our yard who
that's
never
so
leave. So I guess
that's
we
so
have
you.
five.
That's so you. That's so you. Oh my gosh, our mutual friend has managed to acquire a menagerie herself.
Yes, yes.
Yes, I've seen that. And I'm like, man, that's a lot of fur over there. Um,
Including one I handed off.
oh, really? Which one did you hand out? Oh, a cat or a dog?
Yep,
A
cat.
cat.
Yep.
That's, um, I'm not gonna. This is my only one question, if you can allow it.
Sure.
Do you still talk?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Just
good.
saw her.
Oh, good.
She does production design and art direction
Oh,
on
yeah.
Casey's
She's
movies.
amazing. Yeah, she's done very, very well for herself.
Yeah.
Did you tell her you and I were going to talk?
Didn't even think about it. But I was texting her this morning about something else, and I realized, like, dummy.
Yeah, I didn't either, because I didn't know. I didn't, it's like,
Oh no, we're I can't get rid of
I just
any of
don't
my
want to mention it.
exes.
I just don't
I
want to
can't.
mention. Yeah,
I'm still friends with
I know
all of
you guys
them.
are good. I
Can't
knew
cut
you
any of
guys.
them loose.
I'm sorry. I knew you guys were good. I'm just protecting her privacy. That's all. That's why
Yeah.
it's warning.
No, we're all
Um,
good. We're all good.
that's so funny. You dropped off a cat. Now you got five cats. Of course you do. And I heard the dog earlier. What's the dog's name? Is he outnumbered by cats?
That's Rocket. He's not outnumbered in the house because he has a dog sister who's outside right now.
Rocket.
But he's barking at a delivery.
Now is that Rocket from Rocket Raccoon?
Uh, well, I would tell you yes. Casey would tell you he's named for Team Rocket, which is a Pokemon thing.
Is she big into Pokemon, and she big into anime?
Huge into Pokemon.
Oh my gosh. Not Dragon Ball Z though, right?
No, no.
Oh, thank God. Casey, I love you. Oh, Pokemon, that's awesome. Team Rocket. I'm James. I'm Jesse. Oh, okay.
I
I'm
I
busted.
don't.
I'm,
I'm
I'm busted.
confused, is what I am. I don't get it. So
Oh my gosh, Team Rocket. Oh, they're so fun. Oh my God, it's one of the funniest. It's actually truly one of the funniest things about that whole damn show is when Team Rocket shows up and they have a little villain cat with them, and they always get their ass handed to them by the end of the episode. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Um, a
So that's
gentleman
who he's
named
named
Eric
after.
a gentleman named Eric Stewart does the voice for James and for and Brock and some other voices, and he's a terrific actor too, voice actor.
Hmm.
He ended up doing anime. Are you a big anime fan?
I was 20 years ago, and I'm very out of touch now.
What do you do for fun?
Movies, books. Uh, I also am a huge workaholic, so fun is sort of a thing that happens to other people.
Right. So books. Do you have you have a favorite author? Favorite book? Well, if you could recommend a book to me, what would you recommend?
What genre?
Um, Mystery.
Mystery. Okay.
'Cause I got one for you.
I'm probably the wrong guy for mystery. You'd have to talk to my mom. My mom is big into mysteries. I tend to be more uh, either historical fiction, um, some nonfiction stuff, and then either hard science fiction, if they haven't forgotten to put characters in them, or fairly serious, more dark fantasy.
Okay. I've been trying to catch up with some science fiction, but lately it seems like I'm on one of my series that I read has decided to take us there anyway. Um, do you read Preston and Childs, the
I
Pendergast series?
haven't, but I've had it recommended to me.
Yeah. It was straight mystery. Now it's going to science fiction and fantasy. It's a
Hmm.
weird turn. I don't know if I can. I'm not sure if I can handle it or not. It's like it's all rooted in reality. And all of a sudden now we're starting to get time travel and shit, and it's like
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if I
Yeah.
can. But the one I'm really into is John Stanford, the
Okay.
Lucas
I've
Davenport
heard of him.
series,
Yeah, I've
and
heard of him.
the Virgil Flower. Man, those books are so good. Man, I can crank one out in a night. It's so good.
Yep.
It's, yeah.
Yep.
Um, I guess one last question because I'm curious. So
Yep.
how did you meet your wife?
I met her before she met me, and I'll explain that. She doesn't remember meeting me because she was a brand new baby porn star, and I was on set, and her agent brought her by for a go see. And then uh, we met at officially at Comic Con when we were doing the panel for Cowboys and Engines, and she was in the panel, and we ended up going out to lunch, and then a couple weeks later we went for dinner, and then she just never moved out.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Do you like being in love? Is that a good feeling
Mostly,
to be in? Yeah,
mostly, mostly.
it's
Yeah.
cool, isn't it? It's cool.
I mean, I guess
Uh,
it beats the alternative.
it does. It
Yeah.
does. Um, uh, Brent, thank you so much for coming and hanging out
Thank
with
you
me.
very much. I appreciate
We gotta do this again. Seriously.
it.
I should have did this years ago. This is so
Yep.
much fun. You're exactly who I thought you'd be. But
Oh, that can't be good.
now added more with knowing now that you were really the man behind all those superhero costumes.
Oh,
Oh my
yeah,
God,
that can't.
yeah, that is so cool. No, I guess I would have to. Okay, how about this?
All right.
Other than upload and corruption, since I've already seen that. But if
Mhm.
somebody new came up to you and wanted to see one of your films of the last 5 years, which film would you tell them to watch?
It would be The Cabin, which is a little horror feature that I directed for Lust Cinema.
Okay, so
Yeah.
now it's gonna ironic, right? And I could probably find that on Pornhub, right?
No,
Oh,
No,
good.
they don't put the trailers up there. Pornhub doesn't do piracy anymore. They actually eventually had to stop, but they don't need to anymore because now they
Right.
have all the traffic.
Now,
Um,
now, does that help? Does that help filmmakers such as yourself? Does that mean you get paid good money now because
no,
they need?
no.
That sucks.
My rate has not changed in 20 years.
Wow. Wow.
Only in mainstream.
Yeah, you mentioned you were. You mentioned this reason why we had to push this back is because you were shooting a mainstream film on Wednesday. You're doing pickups. Can you
Yeah.
talk to us about that film, or is it has it been
I'm
released?
not gonna because I've gotten bitten in the ass by that once, so now I try and keep it all
Yeah.
very separate.
Yeah. Unless it's listed. Unless it's listed, I don't talk about it.
Yep.
Um. Let's see. Now we're talking about Eric Stewart. Yes, Eric Stewart is a really amazing guy. He's got a lovely wife, and loved him since Slayers. Um, let's see. He says with your beard, you look like Goldberg, the wrestler.
Okay, well, that is the audience's cue to tell me that it's time for me to go.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, I don't know where that one came from, but yeah. To the chat, I'm gonna say thank you so much for coming out and supporting this show. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. Hope you learned a lot, like I did. Um, and we will do this again sometime soon. Next
Absolutely.
Tuesday, we have Shane Varela from Arizona. Not even kidding you. Shane Varela from Tucson, Arizona. He will be here on next Tuesday. He's got a tea chain, Scented Leaf Tea House, a chain of 4 stores. We're going to be talking with Shane about his company, how he got it started, where it's going, and how you can get some tea. And we'll be talking with Shane next Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Can't wait for that. Um, Bryn, stay right where you're at to the chat. I'm going to say goodnight, and we will see you on Tuesday. Be safe and take care. Peace.